Welcome to the Optimal HRV instructional video series. My name is Matt Bennett. I'm a co-founder of Optimal HRV. In this video, we will talk about how do I improve my short-term HRV. In this training, you will learn how HRV helps you know how you're doing right now, how HRV alerts you to how you're doing this week, and short-term strategies to improve heart rate variability. So let's look at some sample heart rate variability readings from the Optimal HRV app to see what it's telling us about how we're doing today and how we're doing this week. So the first one, the one on the left here on the screen with the green stoplight. So what is this telling us on this current screen? One is it's really showing that this person is having a good day. If you look down the bar, there's that all-time average. And the all-time average is every reading you've ever taken since you've started using the app. So you can sort of see this person, if you ask them how they were doing on September 30th, they weren't doing too great. They were actually quite below their overall average. As they saw, this person might have been doing some self-care strategies over October 1st and October 2nd. They're right back about up to their baseline. And then maybe after a good night's sleep is what I suspected happened here, their HRV jumped up from the mid 30s to the mid 80s. So this person is doing really great right now. This is a great day. This person has no excuse to go out there, do their best, go get a hard workout in. They should have all the energy they need to be really successful. If you looked at this individual again on September 30th, that may not have been the case. They may have not had quite the same amount of energy, excitement for the work. They may have been a little bit more worn down than normal. So one on the current screen, what it tells you is you get feedback with the stoplight about how are you doing today. That's your latest score. So after you take a score, the light will tell you how you're doing compared to your all-time average. Now the second one here, let's look at what this page tells you about not only how you're doing today, but how you're doing this week as well. So this stoplight on the trends page throws your 7-day average. So if you look at the last week average here, it is well below the all-time average. So this person is struggling a little this week. It's a pretty significant drop. Not enough to get them in red, but pretty close. I think if it was probably another point or two down, they would be in the red. So this shows, hey, I'm having trouble handling, managing, recovering from stress this week. Again, the light will give you that clear indication, but also these numbers do as well. I want to point out one more thing here as well, and that's the latest versus the previous. And we designed this in the Optimal HRV app to measure certain activities. So you could do a pre-work, post-work reading. So your latest would be, again, the last reading you take, so that would be post-work, and you can compare it to pre-work and see how did the stress of the workday impact the functioning of my mind and body. Pre-post sleep can measure the recovery you get from sleep. Pre-post workout, pre-post mindfulness practice. All of these can tell you how an activity, the impact an activity is having on your autonomic nervous system. Next, let's look at some ways to improve your short-term HRV. So if you get a score that you don't really like, that's lower than your average, what are some things you can do for short-term recovery? I always like to mention when I give any suggestions, make sure these are medically appropriate for you specifically. One is something called hydrotherapy. For some people, just taking a cold shower can really improve heart rate variability. There's the other thing, and what I've integrated into my routine is at the end of my shower, which I enjoy hot showers, I go a minute. So after a hot shower, I go a minute to as cold as I can stand. Usually it means I get goosebumps all over my body. Turn it for hot to a minute. Basically, all the goosebumps go away. Cold, again, I'm getting the goosebumps again. Hot, they go away, and then end on cold. Always end on cold. What this does is it brings your blood to the surface and then contracts it in, and it really builds resiliency and in many ways resets your autonomic nervous system. So a great way, I feel great afterwards, and if I take my heart rate variability, usually can see it jump up a couple of points. The other thing is just talking to somebody you trust. This is what we call in the mental health profession co-regulation. We know that if you can talk to somebody about what's stressing you out, how you're doing, or just hang out with a friend, we know that that improves your functioning and overall health and wellness, and including heart rate variability. So you can also see a few jumps in points oftentimes when you have a conversation with a good friend. A deep breathing. I'm going to give you two exercises here that you can think about. One is for anxiety. If you remember in the previous training, every time we inhale, we activate the energy center or the sympathetic part of our nervous system. Every time we exhale, we apply that parasympathetic or calming brake. So usually when we're anxious, we're more in our sympathetic. So one of the great short-term ways to help manage anxiety is that maybe I will inhale for a count. I'm activating my sympathetic. Inhale for a count of 5. Exhale for a count of 10. So I'm strategically with my autonomic nervous system helping it to apply that parasympathetic calming brake. And this is a great skill. You can just do it under your breath when you feel yourself get anxious. Great way to bring, again, back that balance. If you're feeling exhausted, and I also do this just at the beginning of my workday as well, just one-to-one breathing. So I will usually breathe in for 10 and out for 10. Do whatever count is comfortable for you. But when I do that, and why I do it at the beginning of the day, is I want energy in my day. Now, I don't want to be anxious or nervous, but that equal inhale, exhale is just a great way. It's called coherent breathing. And it's just a great way to get your heart rate variability balanced out, that parasympathetic, sympathetic balance to really, again, bring both energy, but also the emotional regulation and the cognitive engagement as well. Take a nap. The one caveat on this is if you're not a great sleeper or have trouble sleeping, a nap can actually make it harder to go to sleep at night. But if you're somebody that can get in a 15-minute, half-hour nap, great way to let your system recover and let your HRV recover as well. Go for a walk. We call this active recovery. So if your heart rate variability is significantly lower than normal, actually doing a hard workout actually puts you at greater risk for injury or illness. So what I do when I have a lower HRV score is instead of taking a run, I'll take the dogs out, put on an audiobook or a podcast or music, and I'll go walk around the park so I'm out in nature as well, also good for your HRV. And again, instead of a run, I'll get my exercise in with the walk. So the movement helps get the cortisol or stress out of my body. I find also if I get a good night's sleep, then my heart rate variability is usually significantly higher the next morning. Stretching can also be good. Yoga, there's also a simple neck stretch that you do. You can put one hand behind your back and just lean into the side where that hand ends up. And then do it on the other side as well. And that's something that activates this nerve that's really crucial to the parasympathetic nervous system. Like I said, stretching is great for you. It's good for heart rate variability as well. But that neck stretch has been shown to be especially effective. Eat healthily for the next several meals. Food is a great way to help manage this. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a future training, but healthy meals can really help you regulate that nervous system. And this one is key. Avoid large amounts of caffeine, alcohol, or drugs. What these do is they add additional stress onto the system. Caffeine elicits basically a stress response. Alcohol and drugs have both been shown to lower HRV. So again, make sure you're not over relying on those to manage stress. Thank you for joining us for this quick training. You can find more about us at optimalhrv.com, where you can find more online trainings, our heart rate variability podcast, and our free ebook, Heart Rate Variability. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at sales@optimalhrv.com. Thank you very much.